In this video, I will talk about variables in bash scripting. Here, I will start from the very basics and go on to a deeper insight of why do we use variables in scripting. So let's get started. Now, at first, the most obvious question that comes in our mind is, what is a bash variable? I think of it as a storage container or a box where you can store any type of data. For example, starting from a value which can be of integer type or a floating type, which is obviously decimal. Then you can also store words or text, which are strings, and also Boolean data type, which are true and false. So in simple terms, variables are containers or such objects that stores a value or stores value of different data types. They are very useful as they serve as a temporary storage. It is important to remember they serve as a temporary storage in your current script or program, which you can access and use later. Now there are some rules of naming a variable and how to declare a variable, which I'll show you soon. Now there are different types of variables in terms of data types, which I'll classify now. Starting with integers, this is the most common type of variable which you have already heard in any programming language. Integers store whole numbers which can be both positive or negative. Next comes floating point or floats. They are basically decimal numbers which represent fractions. Also, they can be both positive and negative. Then we have character, which is a single letter or a single character string. Then we have strings, which are a sequence of characters or single letters, usually represented in quotations to represent word, sentence, or text. And last, we have Boolean. Boolean variables store either true or false, which are also called flag variables. For your information, we also have two other variable types, which are array variables and object variables, which I will talk about later in some other video. Now I will show you how to declare variables in bash. For this, I will create a bash script named variables.sh. The nano text editor pops up. Over here, I'm gonna edit my script. As usual, I will start with the shebang line. Now I will declare my variable. I will start with the integer value. Now it is important to remember when defining variable, make sure you never put spaces between the equal sign and your value. Just like I have written. Here I have defined a variable named a which will store the value 10, which is an integer. Now let me print the value using the echo command. To access the value, I will use $, then name the variable which is a. Now I'll save the script and exit using Ctrl X. Now let's execute the script to see the output. As you can see, it prints integer a, and over here it prints 10, which is my stored value for a. Now again, jumping to the script. Next, I will assign another variable which will store a floating point value, b equals to 2.5. Here I have named another variable b which will store 2.5. Let's see the output. It gives similar output. In this way, you can store characters, strings, and Boolean values similarly and see the output. In this way, you can assign characters, strings, and Boolean variables. Now I will show you the output. Now I'm going to talk about two other variable types, which are system variables and user-defined variables. Talking about system-defined variables or system variables, they existed since the installation of your Linux operating system. It had been already in your system by default. They have their own functionalities. Now in this table, it lists some of the system variables, the important ones. You don't need to memorize them. I'll talk about system variables later in some other video in details. If you want to know further which system variable works for what function, you can refer to this article provided in the video description below. And user-defined variables are variables which we have been defining or declaring for our own purpose in our own script. Now, there are some special variables in Linux which are also accessed by $sign. And these variables have their own functionalities. You can study them on your own to explore. So that was all for this video. In this video, I have talked about variables. I have introduced variables in bash scripting and talk about how to declare them. I will talk about the variable types and more about system variables and user-defined variables in the upcoming videos. If you want to know further, please refer to the article provided in the video description below. Thank you for watching.